On a dark Scottish road, a cyclist vanished without a sound. No scream. No crash reported. No witnesses calling police. Just a man riding through the Highlands at night and then nothing. For more than 3 years, Tony Parsons' family had no idea where he went. Search teams combed forests and rivers. Posters stayed pinned long after hope should have faded. No bicycle. No body. No trace. For investigators, it felt impossible that someone could disappear so completely. And somewhere out there, 2 brothers were living ordinary lives while carrying a secret buried beneath peat and mud. But this case did not break open because of forensic technology. It broke open because one of the killers confessed to the wrong person. Tony Parsons was the kind of man people trusted immediately. He was 63 years old, a grandfather, and a retired Royal Navy officer. Quiet, disciplined, steady in the way long-distance cyclists often are. He had survived cancer, and after recovery, he threw himself into charity rides. Friends described him as calm and dependable, the kind of person who never needed attention to leave an impression. In September 2017, Tony set out on a cycling challenge through the Scottish Highlands to raise money for a prostate cancer charity. He liked solitude, the focus, the rhythm of long rides alone. The route stretched more than 100 miles. Cold roads, open landscapes, and long stretches where headlights were rare after dark. To Tony, it was peaceful. To someone else, it became the perfect place for a crime. On September 29, 2017, Tony traveled north to Fort William before beginning his return ride toward Tillicoultry. At first, nothing seemed unusual. He stopped along the way and spoke to people. Other cyclists remembered seeing him. As evening fell, temperatures dropped fast across the Highlands. The A82 cut through isolated terrain near Bridge of Orchy. Beautiful in daylight, dangerous at night. Tony kept riding. Around 11:30 p.m., he was seen outside the Bridge of Orchy Hotel. That would be one of the last confirmed sightings of him alive. After that, the trail ended. No calls. No bank activity. No sign of Tony or his bike. When he failed to return home, concern turned quickly into panic. At first, there was hope it was an accident. A fall into rough terrain. An injury that made it impossible to call for help. Search crews moved through rivers, hillsides and woodland along the route. But something never made sense. Tony was not inexperienced. He knew long-distance cycling and he knew the Highlands. Even in poor conditions, there were roads, hotels and passing vehicles. A complete disappearance did not fit. Days became weeks. Still nothing. That absence changed the shape of the investigation. One theory focused on a collision on the A82. The road was narrow, poorly lit and known for dangerous driving conditions. If a driver had struck Tony and panicked, it could explain silence. But it did not explain the lack of evidence. A bicycle crash usually leaves something behind. Scrapes, debris, damage or reports. Instead, investigators faced emptiness. Tony had simply vanished. His family remained trapped in uncertainty. With no body, grief froze in place. Nothing resolved, nothing released. As time passed, public attention faded, but investigators never fully closed the file. Because it felt like someone out there knew what happened and was not speaking. 3 years later, everything changed because of a conversation inside a car. A woman named Caroline Muirhead was dating a man called Alexander McKellar, a gamekeeper from the Highlands. Quiet, rural, seemingly ordinary. As their relationship became more serious, she asked him if there was anything in his past that could affect their future. That question broke something open. He pulled the car over and confessed that years earlier, he and his twin brother Robert had killed a man. Not a planned attack. A hit and run. The victim was a cyclist. Tony Parsons. According to later accounts, Alexander admitted they had been driving an Isuzu pickup truck near Bridge of Orkney when they struck him. Instead of calling emergency services, they panicked and left. Then they returned. They moved the bicycle. They hid the evidence. And they buried the body on remote land using machinery. One detail changed everything. Tony may still have been alive after the collision. Medical assessments suggested he could have survived if help had been called immediately. That shifted the case into something far darker than an accident. Caroline now faced a terrifying reality. The man beside her had just confessed to hiding a body. She did not go to police immediately. Fear and shock delayed her. Instead, she did something dangerous. She convinced him to take her to the burial site. They traveled to remote peatland on Auk Estate. Isolated ground, dark soil, already known for hiding animal remains. The landscape felt designed to erase things. Before leaving, Caroline marked the area using a crushed drink can so it could be identified later. Then she contacted police. At that moment, the case changed. It was no longer a missing person investigation. It became a homicide inquiry. In January 2021, forensic teams searched the estate. After careful excavation, they found human remains. After more than 3 years, Tony Parsons had been found. For his family, the discovery brought both relief and devastation. Relief that uncertainty had ended, and devastation that the truth was worse than they feared. Tony had not vanished. He had been hidden. Police arrested Alexander and Robert McKellar. Investigators then reconstructed what they believed happened. Alexander had been driving. Alcohol was involved. The truck struck Tony on the A82. Instead of calling for help, the brothers left, returned later and concealed the body. Not a moment of panic. A sustained cover-up. And life continued as normal afterward. Work, routine, ordinary days while a family searched for answers that would never come. In court proceedings, Alexander McKellar ultimately pleaded guilty to culpable homicide rather than murder. Robert pleaded guilty to attempting to defeat the ends of justice. Sentences were handed down. 12 years for Alexander. 5 years and 3 months for Robert. For Tony's family, no number could balance what had been taken. Because punishment does not restore time or silence the image of someone dying alone on a roadside. One final layer remained. Caroline Muirhead had become a key witness in the case. She secretly assisted investigators while still close to the man who had confessed. She gathered information, helped locate evidence and carried the psychological weight of what she knew. The pressure eventually became overwhelming. During the legal process, she experienced severe mental strain and her involvement reportedly led to intense personal breakdown during proceedings. She was not connected to the victim. Yet after that confession in a parked car, her life changed completely. And in the end, the ripple effects of one night in the Highlands reached far beyond the road where it began.